Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook and this podcast is inspired by a Quincy Jones quote, "Imagine what a harmonious world it would be if everyone shared a little of what they're good at." I chat with musicians and those with an interest in music to get them to share what they are good at. My past guests include Grammy winners and nominees, those starting out in the music business and seasoned professionals. Alongside the podcast, my blog contains album and live performance reviews, and all the links are in the show notes. This is the last episode of Harmonious World for 2024, and it features a chat with Pete Chambers from the Coventry Music Museum, and you will find out why that is a very interesting place. But I hope you enjoy listening to my conversation with Pete Chambers. So welcome, Pete, to Harmonious World. And this place is incredible.
Well, thank you very much. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, it's 11 years old now. And I can't believe where that's gone, but we're still as enthusiastic now as we were on day one. So I totally agree with that statement. Yeah, we love it here.
Yeah, and you've got, I mean, obviously it's sort of built on two-tone because that's what Coventry is kind of widely, globally famous for. But there's a lot of other stuff that you've got here as well.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that really annoys me when people call us the Ska Museum. Or I could just about take the Two-Tone Museum, but the Ska Museum, definitely not. I mean, obviously, we touch upon that. And as you say, because, you know, Coventry is famous for producing two-tone, so it's the biggest musical export we've got. So 60% of what we've got here is about two-tone.
Right.
But not exclusively, you know, there's a lot of other stuff here going right back to the Roman occupation. And then we've also got... Artist of the Month, which is obviously stuff that's happening now, and everything in between. So we're a bit of everything, and we're Coventry and Warwickshire as well.
Right.
But we don't put that in the title because it would just be so constipated, you know, the Coventry and Warwickshire Music Museum.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you say it's 11 years old, but I sense that this is a labour of love that's gone back a lot further than that.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've always been a local music journalist, you know, right back to the 80s, to the Specials days, to be honest. I saw the Specials when they were the Coventry Automatics, you know, before they even were the Specials. Yeah. So I go back a long way, and yeah, I've always had an interest in Coventry and music, you know, wherever those two would collide, that's where I am, you know, totally. So I've always done that, and so the idea... I've written books and, you know, created tourism based on local music, you know, the Coventry Walk of Fame and things like that, the Coventry Stars and all sorts of things. So whatever that is, you know, that's what I've always done. So I've always had this dream of creating a museum that celebrated local music. And, you know, it took a long while. It wasn't that easy because I always say, you know, I could talk forever about Coventry music, but where does risk assessment and fire extinguishers come into all that, you know?
Yeah.
In fact, funny enough, I was thinking that yesterday we had the guys coming around checking on our fire extinguishers, and that very phrase came to my mind, thinking, yeah, it's we you know, I never thought of it in the sense that we were creating a small business. I just wanted my museum to celebrate Coventry and Warwickshire music. That's all I wanted. I never thought that we were actually creating a small business, which I'd never done before. It was a big task, and you know, pre-set up, it was all very worrying, and there was all these problems, and suddenly you open and you realise, you know, touch wood, I'm touching wood here, but it's 11 years and we're pretty set up. But once you open, you realise that everything sort of dissipates, and pretty much, you know, you occasionally get your little problems here and there, but everything's been pretty cool since then. So it's great. So, you know, what I would say to people, if they're ever thinking about doing something like this, then go for it, you know. As long as you got the, you know, I was lucky, you know, there's so many places in Britain that are screaming out for a music museum, like Birmingham, Sheffield, Manchester, London, Liverpool. They all deserve their own standalone music museums. I know there's a lot of stuff in Liverpool, but it's mainly about the Beatles. they need something, you know, they've got such a vibrant music scene in Manchester. And it's kind of like, it takes somebody like myself, and that's not a brag, it's just that I happen to have, you know, all the sort of boxes ticked, really. I mean, I had the time, I had the inclination, I had the knowledge, and I found the place, you know, to actually build this museum or create the museum. So, you know, it's all part of that, but it's never easy. But once you get there, it's great, and I absolutely love it, as you can probably tell.
I can, absolutely. So, where has all this stuff come from?
Right, well, all this stuff, as you call it,
and that's
our collection.
That's not to denigrate it at all.
No, not at all.
You have visual stuff. You have artifacts. You've got the Ghost Town car up there. Where did this it all appear from?
Well, most of it is on loan. You know, some of it's been donated, and most of it's on long-term loan. I mean, the funny thing with the car. And again, it was like one of those things, thinking, you know, a simple thought of, we could do with the car, you know, but actually the reality of putting it up there and everything else that went with it is a completely different task.
Of course.
You know, it was a completely different thing. But the funny thing is, I'm where we're sitting now, and there's a very old piano sort of outside the little studio space that we're sitting in, and that piano is the Lieutenant Pigeon piano. Some people might remember from 1972, Mouldy Old Dough.
Yeah.
You know, and that piano, we got the organ that Ghost Town was written on, and we also got the Ghost Town car, all in the same year, which was miraculous. But the car is an incredible story in itself, really. As I was saying, you know, the thought of getting the car, I always wanted to see if we could get the car, and obviously getting hold of it, you know, getting hold of the people, there was no chance. We couldn't find anybody. There was no connections.
No. Somebody
came in one day and he said, I know them, I know these people. I said, please get them to contact. Anyway, they never did. But it was only when we changed neighbours. We're in a little courtyard here with shops and everything, and the museum. And next door to the museum is the two-tone shop, which sells all kinds of clothes. You know, we've got a shop that sells all the memorabilia here, and a shop that sells the clothes. We've got a cafe and all sorts. So the shop that sells the clothes, the husband of the lady that runs it, Leonie, well, her husband Steve, he's got a garage, and we've told him about the car, and he started joining all these groups. Anyway, long story short, he got a message from a guy in North Wales, was told about a guy in North Wales who got a lot of the Cresters, Vauxhall Cresters, PA61s bodies, and he went up there anyway. He cut it in half. We've got half of it all there. It's only because it was such a small museum, we couldn't have got it all in.
No.
And there was 4 of them side by side, and he picked the one at the end, easier to get to. Anyway, again, long story short, got it back to Cov, sent it to DVLA in Swansea. And lo and behold, it turned out to be the car.
Incredible.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. When we've got the proof up there, so there's no two ways about that. And it was kind of like meant to be.
Yeah.
You know, it was just meant to be. We've had like a lot of that stuff. In fact, one thing I never mentioned really, but I will tell you when we were talking about it was meant to be. One day when we were setting the museum up, myself and my wife were walking on what we call Ball Hill, which is the area. And as we walked along and coming up to the crossing to come here, just across the road, and a chimney stack fell behind us. Now, if we'd have been a few seconds different, we'd probably have been killed.
Wow.
But I kind of feel that it wasn't our time. It was like, you know, I'm getting quite emotional even thinking about it, thinking this is your time, you've got work to do, you've got to set this museum up. Wow. And I can't, I'm not a big believer in fate, but really, I mean, if a few seconds different in that walking, I mean, it literally sort of landed behind us, and it was a massive chunk.
Wow.
It wasn't just, it was like about 2 foot of bricks,
Wow.
So, I always kind of think that, and I've never really mentioned that before, but I thought I'd drop that one in because we're talking about like it was meant to be, and I think that's why we've had such, a great success with it, and people just love it, and everybody that comes here, we do charge, but it's the only way we can keep going.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's only £5, for adults, and £3 concessions, and free for children. We're not here to take the mickey. I want everybody to see our beautiful museum. So we're trying to keep the prices down. But everybody that comes, you never get any disingenuous people. Very rarely, if you look on TripAdvisor, there's 1,000 and something excellence, top marks.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is, when I get a good mark, I think, what have we done wrong? But we're obviously not good enough. And when you look at it, you think, wow, to get excellent all the time is just amazing.
Well, it's extraordinary, and I think that it's a wonderful thing that you're doing here. What do you think it is that makes Coventry? Because it's a very interesting city, isn't it? What do you think it is that makes it? Because the music is all very anti-establishment. Well, is it anti-establishment, or is it just about the people? It's definitely about the people, isn't it?
Well, again, I was writing a thing the other day, and I kind of call it the three Coventry Graces. Because if you look at it, we've always been that kind of city. If you go right back in time, right back to Lady Godiva,
Oh, yeah, of course.
She rode naked in the streets, she was fighting for the people, for tax. And then later on, we became, after the war, after Coventry was desecrated in the war, we became the city of peace and reconciliation.
Yeah.
That we had that. And of course, a few years later, we became the two-tone city, black and white unite, multicultural, before we even knew what that word meant. We never used that word back in the day, of course, but we all use it now. But so really, I was looking at that and I'm thinking that's kind of what we are. Coventry City has always been that very forgiving. And we're great at reinventing ourselves. When the car industry all went, and I worked in the car industry for many years. I worked for British Leyland, then Peugeot. I've done all that. I'm very much part of the Coventry thing, really.
Yeah.
And we great at reinventing ourselves. Once they all went, everybody thought, that's it, I haven't got a job. But people all got jobs, and there was so much local social enterprise and people creating jobs, people creating their own businesses, and it was great, and of course I was doing other things as well, but my journalism, but I came and did this, and it's just an incredible thing to do. But I think we're very resilient Coventry people, and the fact that we're right in the middle of England, we soak up,
exactly.
We're not north, south or east or west, we're right in the middle, and we soak up a little bit of everything that comes along, and I think that's really important for us, and I think that's where we lie. That's us Coventrians.
Yeah. One of the things I really like is one of the first things that you see. So you see the piano, and then you see this mini recording studio with loads of instruments and gear and everything, and it just shows, I think, the visitor that when it comes down to it, it's all about the music. Although you've got loads of stuff about the marketing and the posters and all that, it's actually about the music. And the music, two-tone, is unique in that it takes its influences from so many different places, doesn't it?
It does, and it did. Obviously the original ideas, and talked about seeing the specials before they were the specials, but the Coventry Automatics were sort of melding the punk rock, the energy of punk rock with reggae, and it didn't quite work. Obviously reggae wasn't quite fast enough, and it didn't all work together. And then of course they got on the idea, let's meld the energy of punk with ska, which and of course once that happened, ska being a lot faster, it all kind of worked, and then that sound was created and and celebrated ever since. But it's such a infectious beat, you've got all that stuff going on, and as you say, it's not just punk and ska connected, and mashed up. There's loads of other stuff going on in there, and of course Jerry Dammers was like the genius that put it all together and had all these great ideas, and he created that, and he wanted it to be that kind of music that was, it took ideas and influences from all over.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, this is not just about a historical moment. This is also about what's going on now with the music scene in Coventry. So are there people playing now who you think will deserve a place in the museum?
Oh yes. Well, funny enough, you've just sort of come at exactly the right time, because I'm just about to write. I've just discovered a new Coventry artist called Short Straw.
Okay.
She's a female rapper, but she is amazing, and I love it. As a music journalist from Coventry, when you start hearing and everybody keeps talking about the same artists, and you're thinking, oh, what's this? Yeah. And you get that excitement. It's like a rush, Yeah. Suddenly everybody's talking about this artist, and you're thinking, whoa, is this going to be the next big thing? And I really think so. I've been in contact with her as well. I'm doing a piece in my paper next week, and she's just absolutely brilliant. She's just wonderful, and it's like, wow, and she talks about Coventry, not always necessarily in a positive way, but I think we're all like that with our own cities and where we come from.
Absolutely.
But very at the same time, she is very positive about the city and the fact that this is my city. In the words of The Enemy, we'll live and die in these towns, which is a song which kind of touches a lot of things today. We've got a brand new manager at Coventry City,
right?
Mr. Lampard.
Okay, of course, yeah.
And of course, there's the big vote. Big vote for the dying thing. Yeah. So live and die in these towns. That song sort of because everybody's singing that at the football now. So it's all good, and I just love it. I just love living in this city, and I'm so excited about Short Straw. So listen out for that lady, for that name, because
fantastic. Well, I'll put her details in the show notes as well, so that people can look at the museum, and then I'll also put a link to Short Straw, and
brilliant.
So people can check her out.
Yeah. Just make sure that, because I think there's an American band as well.
Well, I'll make sure we do the
but you can obviously see the difference.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, well, thank you so much, Pete. It's a real honour to talk to you. So thank you for joining me on Harmonious World.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed listening to that conversation with Pete Chambers from the Coventry Music Museum. What you're listening to now is my theme tune for Harmonious World, composed, performed, improvised, etc. by the remarkable young pianist Joe English. Please remember that you can find reviews of albums, live gigs on my blog at hilaryseabrook.blogger.com, and the links are all in the show notes. And I hope you enjoy listening to Harmonious World. Please get in touch with any comments you've got, any people you think I should be listening out for. And until the next episode, please share what you are good at. Use the hashtag #ShareHarmony. I'm wishing you the very best as we end 2024. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.